Hey, what's up guys? Joker here. Hope you're all doing well. Today I'm coming at you with a couple of news stories in the world of PC gaming as well as PC gaming hardware. First up, we're going to be talking about Doom Eternal finally getting its update for ray tracing as well as DLSS support, and we've got some early information on the new Battlefield 2042 title supporting some exclusive NVIDIA tech as well, like Reflex and DLSS. So we're going to talk about all of that. Also, EVGA has teased its first entry, I believe, ever into making AMD motherboards. That's right, before they have been exclusively involved with NVIDIA on the graphics card side and Intel when it comes to motherboards, but now they are teasing support for an AMD Ryzen with an upcoming motherboard lineup, so that's very exciting to see. And also, Microsoft has pulled the Windows 11 PC health check tool, which would help you find out if your system was going to be compatible with Windows 11. However, thanks to tons of negative feedback because nobody's computer is compatible with Windows 11, they got rid of the tool, obviously. Did you just finish building a sweet gaming rig only to have this happen to you? Not to worry, because your CD Key has you covered with Windows 10 Pro licenses for under $18. And if you head over there right now, you could save 20% off with my code JPD20 at checkout. You'll receive your key within seconds, and then just click the start button and type activate to find the Windows activation screen, and all you gotta do then is paste your code in. For more info as well as that coupon code, be sure to check out the links down in the description below. First up, though, let's start with Doom Eternal finally getting its ray tracing and DLSS update. Honestly, I've been kind of waiting for this to come to the game since it came out last year. I've been expecting them to add this in at some point, as Wolfenstein Youngblood had gotten ray tracing and DLSS, so I knew it was only a matter of time. So that's why I kind of never got around to finishing this game, because I wanted to wait for it, and so far, it's looking to be just as good as what we saw in Wolfenstein Youngblood in terms of visual aesthetics and in terms of performance. I did boot it up, and I was getting well over 100 frames with ray tracing turned on and no DLSS whatsoever at 4K on my 3080 Ti. So it was running an absolute treat, and it didn't even need DLSS to be enabled on that card. And it sounds like for most cards even, you probably wouldn't really need to unless you're trying to run it at some ridiculously high resolution, like at 4K on a 2060 or something, which you probably shouldn't be doing. But I guess you probably technically could if we're going to go by NVIDIA's numbers. Now, I didn't really get to any super interesting areas where I was at in my story playthrough with tons of reflections, which is why I've not done a dedicated video on this yet. But we could see over on videocards.com, we've got a comparison here with ray tracing off, and if you keep an eye on the floor, you can see it basically turns into a mirror. And these are like one of the areas I wanted to kind of get to access, because this kind of shows it really, to full effect. With the suit, you can kind of see some of it here on Doom Guy's suit, but not a ton. A little bit on the helmet there. You see some light sort of reflecting off of the edges there, but not a ton of effect on the armor itself. But yeah, so where I was playing it was, kind of like just like deserty, so not a ton of reflections, but I did find one spot where I could find the fire sort of licking the flames on the side of my gun. It was just getting in there. It was just all up in there, ray traced over 100 frames per second. It was quite beautiful. But according to NVIDIA's internal numbers, they show at 4K, the 3080 Ti getting 101.7 FPS average, and then with the performance mode on DLSS getting 157. Quality mode would probably be somewhere in the middle there, around 125 to 130, based on what I was seeing. But again, with a card like that, you didn't even need it for 4K. 3080 wouldn't need it for 4K. That was averaging 86 frames, again, according to NVIDIA's internal numbers. It's not until we get down to the 3070 Ti where we actually see the native resolution number drop down below 60, and then even then with DLSS on performance, they're getting 90 frames, so even that would be fine probably at a quality preset on this. And then, when you start to get to lower tier cards, if you're playing at 1440, probably won't be as much of an issue to need DLSS, but for 4K, it seems like even the 3060 is averaging over 70 frames here on DLSS performance mode at max settings 4K and all of that. So really good performance on the engine here with using Vulkan API and all of that. They continue to kill it on these games with performance. They're just some of the best game engines that we've seen from id Tech. So yeah, great stuff on Doom Eternal. Definitely check out the ray tracing update, which is live now on the PC as well as next gen consoles. If you have the game and RTX card, certainly go in and check it out. Also, Battlefield 2042, we've got some information coming out of DICE and NVIDIA. The game is going to be launching on October 22nd, as I'm sure many of you know. And we kind of expected that it would get some NVIDIA support in Battlefield 5. It was one of the earliest titles to have ray tracing as well as DLSS, which honestly was not the best implementation. It looked gorgeous, but the DLSS wasn't the best when it first came out, and it still doesn't offer that much of a huge performance uplift in that specific game with ray tracing enabled. But, you know, it was one of the earlier games that did it. And also, it still has tons of issues with DirectX 12 and hitching, which I hope for the love of science that they finally sort out in this new Battlefield game, which you'll very likely need to use DirectX 12 if you want to take advantage of the NVIDIA-specific features. Potentially, it's a possibility. It's what you had to do in Battlefield 5, so that might be the case here in Battlefield 2042 as well on the Frostbite engine. But as of right now, they're only mentioning DLSS and NVIDIA Reflex. As NVIDIA noted in their press release, they said, "We are excited to be bringing NVIDIA DLSS and NVIDIA Reflex to Battlefield 2042. Battlefield 5 was the first Frostbite game engine-based game to add DLSS. Anthem was the second, and Battlefield 2042 is the third. GeForce RTX gamers are getting a Battlefield 2042 experience that is second to none, with low latency thanks to NVIDIA Reflex and blazing fast frame rates without sacrificing image quality thanks to DLSS." So there you have it. We're getting the low latency tech with Reflex, which don't have an issue with, and DLSS will help to boost frames for people that need the extra frame rate on their RTX graphics cards, which probably won't be that much of an issue unless you're running ray tracing, which, according to this press release right now, there's no mention of ray tracing in the game, so maybe they'll end up leaving it out. Maybe because there's no single player this time around, it's only going to be the fast-paced multiplayer action, which is really not the best place to sort of appreciate that. Really, for fast-paced multiplayer, what you want is the low latency from NVIDIA Reflex. You want DLSS to get better frame rates. So, you know, if they're going to try to stick with this being a competitive shooter, it would make sense to focus on delivering the best gameplay experience, the smoothest, lowest latency possible, rather than throwing on a bunch of ray tracing effects, which I would still like to see. Don't get me wrong. I would love to see ray tracing effects in Battlefield 2042. But I know people that want to play this competitively and take it uber seriously and super sweaty probably don't care too much about ray tracing. But hey, I hope they add it in so we can at least test it out and take in some of the eye candy, even if when I'm playing generally I probably won't use it unless the performance is as good as what we saw on Doom Eternal, over 100 frames native. You do that with this game and I'm all over it like a rash. I'll even use DLSS for it for all of my sweaty needs. Next up, we have EVGA, who has teased a video on social media. I saw it initially over on Twitter, but it's over on YouTube as well, where they have teased bringing out one of their first AMD Ryzen motherboards. We could see the very short video right here, which is about 10 seconds in length, and just brings up the word dark in that classic EVGA font, and then the AMD Ryzen logo behind it. If we go ahead and replay it here and sort of skip ahead, we can get to that part with the Ryzen logo, and you see it forming there, and there you go. So basically, we don't have a whole hell of a lot to go on off of this. We don't have any information as far as release dates are concerned, whether it's going to be with existing AMD Ryzen CPUs or for the next generation of CPUs that are going to come out from AMD. But it looks like EVGA is jumping into that space, so always nice to have another motherboard manufacturer. The EVGA boards have always been very solid in my testing experience, and also always had a very nice aesthetic. If you like a simple monochrome look, especially if you want like all black, which is what their Dark series does, just all solid black motherboards, which is really kind of why I've always liked them. I know it's not like the best PC technical reason to like something, but I tend to do all dark themed builds, so EVGA motherboards have always been in the back of my mind as a possibility if I needed to get something for an all black PC or something, which is something I've done quite frequently on the channel. Last up, but certainly not least, Windows 11. So ever since this got announced, they put out this PC health check tool, which if you run it on your system, will most likely tell you that your PC is not capable of running Windows 11. I'm kidding. I'm sure a lot of people are capable of running it, but there are a lot of under the hood things that, might prevent you from actually being able to install Windows 11 if it was made available right now, until at least Microsoft can either, take back some of their restrictions or, sort out, this PC health check tool, things like not having a TPM 2.0 module, whatever that is, having things like secure boot enabled on your PC, and then also meeting some of the ridiculous system requirements like having an 8th gen or newer Intel processor or a 2000 Ryzen series processor or newer, which there are a lot of people that have CPUs, processors that are older than those, that are still more than capable of running modern games. I mean, a 6700K would not be compatible to run on Windows 11. Like, what? Why? Why, Microsoft? Like, why would you do this? Of course, this was going to be met with a lot of backlash, and people were going to like the fact that they can't even run the newest version of Windows, which I don't know why you'd want to anyway. I don't know why you'd want to be a first-year beta tester for Windows 11, which Windows 10, in my eyes, still never got out of beta. We've still been beta testing that bitch in 2021. So if you think Windows 11 is going to be running smooth out the gate, you got another thing coming to you, Jack, because it's just not. It's a fact. And yeah, don't worry about it. Just don't sweat. Oh, they're taking away the health check app. Ooh. Honestly, I was a little weary of that health check app. I felt like if I ran that thing on my system, that it was going to like make it mandatory for me to upgrade as soon as Windows 11 came out. Like, I was scared just to run that thing. And then it told me I didn't have secure boot enabled, so I was just like, okay, so I'll just not do that then. It's cool. So we'll just leave it there. Because honestly, I don't know like what the whole, what their whole deal is with the secure boot and all of this stuff, but I kind of have this tinfoil hat theory that it's just more so about getting your OS locked down so they could spy on you more, and also have anti-piracy checks for fraudulent versions of Windows 11 potentially being out in the market. That kind of sounds like the direction really that they're going with this, although they try to make it sound like it's to make your PC safer, saying that they require things like Secure Boot, which is a feature of your PC's UEFI that only allows approved operating systems to boot up. It's a security tool that prevents malware from taking over your PC at boot time. So on the surface, yes, Secure Boot is a good thing. It'll definitely keep your PC safer if you're the type of person that needs that level of security. But yeah, I get this feeling like it's not all well and good from Microsoft's perspective, and they're not doing this out of their goodness of their heart to protect our PCs or anything like that. They just want to make sure that everyone's running a proper copy of Windows 11 so that they could spy on you, and that you've not done anything in the background to disabling their telemetry or being able to check and make sure everything is on the up and up so that they can continue to spy on you and sell your advertising information to the highest bidder across the entire planet and all that yada 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 stuff. So that's just my tinfoil hat theory for the day about all of these ridiculous requirements. That doesn't even get into the hardware stuff like the CPUs, which obviously older CPUs could handle the grunt force of that Windows 11 is going to need to run, which is basically just Windows 10 with a fucking coat of paint and the taskbar moved to the middle because it wants to be Mac OS, but it ain't Mac OS. So that's all I've got for you guys today on these topics. Hope to interact with you guys down in the comments below. Please let me know what you thought of all the news stories and everything. If you learned anything new, leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you're not already. If you've been here for a while, consider ringing that notification bell. That way you never miss a video as soon as it goes up live on the channel. And I will catch you guys next time for another video.